Assalamu alaikum. Beautiful afternoon in Lahore. Today is 22nd of January 2026. So, I was discussing the non-linear economic development or economic growth equation. Uh, uh, the non-linearity of the equation depends on instrumental analysis. There would be stages, first stage, second stage, and third stage, least square methods, which would be adopted to then uh, calculate the effect of institutions, globalization, and productivity on long run economic development. I have briefly discussed the instruments for institutions, but institution instruments work well only when you add productivity into the equation. And productivity is measured through human capital, whereas human capital in my um, equation, which I have developed, is taken from Barrow and Lee, University of California, Berkeley's years of schooling. Now, how to instrument years of schooling? There can be many instruments, quantitative and qualitative, for education. For example, education attainments depend on public expenditure on education. Then it would depend on how many educational institutions there are. Then it would depend on the test scores. For example, test scores in English or mathematics. And there can be many other instrumental variables which could predict years of schooling. Years of schooling also depend on income level of households, uh, whether the households can afford to send their children to the educational institute or not. Then it would depend on culture as well. But here primarily the instrument which is used was test scores. That is, though it is represent quality of education, but it is a quantitative variable. Test scores is a quantified concept. For example, higher the test scores would be, higher would be the years of schooling completed. Then productivity also depends on government expenditure on higher education, especially productivity happening through services sector across the developing world. In Pakistan, during 2005 to 2008, higher economic growth rate was achieved primarily because of services sector, whereas productivity of the services sector really depends on higher education expenditures by the government or household incomes. So, in that respect, this institution variable was explained with a complete model where institutions would come into the equation with economic growth rate as a dependent variable, whereas two other independent variables would be globalization and education.